Hello all! A new trailer for Star Trek Discovery dropped with lots of new footage, so naturally, as with all the others, I'm going to be doing an analysis, review, and then maybe do some speculation and theory crafting as to what may be happening in this season. I think the first season of Discovery had kind of the wrong tone and made some weird narrative choices that, I don't know, I don't think they suited the introduction to this new universe. It didn't quite gel for me. But let's see if this new series, well, let's just see. Also, apologies if this is a bit more sporadic than usual, but I tend not to script this sort of thing, and if my voice sounds even more nasally and croaky than normal, which is somewhat of an achievement, I know, it's because I'm developing a bit of a sore throat, so that being said, let's get on. So right off the bat, we've got some majestic establishing shots that, yeah, it looks very nice. Glad to see that the visuals still look pretty damn good. So we're seeing Spock going full on Benny Russell style, drawing all over the walls of his padded cell as he tries to figure things out, and it looks like Burnham's been the one that goes and collects him to bring him back. We get a good establishment of the scale of the threat this series, and Spock certainly looks like he's been roughing it for the past few months. And at first, when I saw these scenes, I thought Burnham was wearing like TOS style coloured Science Division uniform, but I think it's more of something civilian and Vulcan, to be honest. Meanwhile, at Fort Greyskull, and switching back to the Klingon Empire, it looks like L'Rell's authority is effectively going to be being challenged quite a bit. Ash seems very much to have stuck by her side for this, and I can kind of see why the Klingons would have a problem with her authority, because after all, there she is with Ash Tyler by her side, who for all appearances looks human, and has undertaken, even for a Klingon, some very dishonourable work, you know, being a spy and so forth. But not only that, she seized power in the Klingon Empire through effectively allowing the Federation to take Kronos hostage. So, yeah, some legitimately founded power struggles going on here, I think, and that's probably going to be the majority of her story arc. Also, Klingons with hair, #hairy Klingons. We get some shots of Discovery orbiting an M-class planet, probably the one that Burnham then goes down to find Spock. Ah, right, yes. So Pike comes aboard and is continuing to brief people on what Spock's been up to. They've been looking into the appearances of these red bursts that usually occur following sightings of this red angel. I find this interesting because it suggests that Starfleet is aware of the red angel phenomena, yet Spock's departed by himself to try and solve this thing, which honestly is still fairly in keeping with Spock's character. He has always been portrayed as a bit of a rebel as much as a Vulcan could be. Well, I mean, without blowing themselves up. Logic extremists. Still think that's... Never mind. It's a theme of this season to be tackling religion, and I think this, combined with the dialogue from the other trailers, suggests that this angel's got very much of a calming effect on those who witness it, despite it usually being surrounded by all this turmoil and chaos. Whether or not it's truly benign, I don't know. I'm going to actually speculate it's probably not, but I could just be judging it by its appearance. After all, I think this gelatinous life form we see later on might actually be what the angel looks like up close. Might not be, could be a completely different entity entirely related to the black goo that we see later on. In fact, actually, thinking about it, that's probably more likely. But, I don't know, I like the idea that this red angel that sort of exudes a calming aura is actually secretly malevolent. But I will say, therefore, that this trailer's done its job, because now I really want to know what this thing is. And I guess so does Starfleet, because we're reintroduced to Georgiou, who is now working for Section 31. So we finally get the black comm badges answered as to what they're actually for. Now, there's one thing that I think is a bit weird, and that's that Pike and Burnham are talking to her about Section 31, an organisation so secret within the Federation that nobody even really knows it exists. However, the tone of Pike's voice in this conversation makes me think he's actually just questioning her about it, something akin to sort of like she's name-dropped Section 31, and he's responded with, Section 31, what's that, like covert ops and threat assessment? And she just responds rather cryptically with, fun times. Also, it would be good to note, hopefully they're retaining internal consistency here, because all references to the mirror universe of last season were sealed by Starfleet and made classified, so in theory, only the crew of the Discovery might know who Georgiou really is. And even then, I think it's limited to just a few select members of the senior crew. So I'm looking forward to scenes where Burnham's the only one who really knows that this is the Empress, and her doubting like everything that she's doing, while everyone else is just like, what are you doing? This is one of Starfleet's most decorated captains. Burnham, are you acting up again? Anywho, we switch back to another scene of Saru being intimidated by this black goo creation, this monster. And I'm wondering if this is tied to him being injured from the previous trailer that we saw. I actually think this probably takes place after that. Maybe he gets injured and he goes home to recuperate, because we also see him a bit later on with a fellow Kelpian. Of course, I didn't get to see the Star Trek short treks. I wasn't allowed because I live in the UK. So if something's happened in there to explain the presence of another Kelpian on board Discovery, I apologise, I've just not seen it. And then we get another little outward display of another Federation-themed ship. I presume it's Federation, it certainly looks that way with the colour scheme. I'd like it for the camera to pull back and you'd see like underneath to be like an Oberth-style hull attached to the bottom. I think that'd be nice, like a precursor to the Oberth ship. The way the trailer's set up, it seems to be implying it's the one that's ferrying Ash Tyler back to the Discovery, so as to why he'd actually have a reason to get involved with this, I'm not entirely certain. I think it's even stranger that he's the one that seems to be briefing Pike on Section 31's intentions, so here's my speculation. I think that Georgiou turned up on Kronos wearing that holographic, face-altering, Black Manta-looking armour, chasing down leads on the Red Bursts, kicked some ass, wrecked some stuff, claimed to be working on behalf of Starfleet, so L'Rell's just like, Ash, you need to get back in there and find out what's going on behalf of the Empire. We can't have this going on whilst I'm trying to maintain control of this rabble. So he turns up on Discovery to try and use Burnham and the connections he's got there to brief them on this threat or find out more, and he's surprised to learn that Georgiou's already beat him to it. So he shares what he knows with Pike and along the way steals a snog from Burnham. So this is all intercut with a number of other scenes, Burnham searching for Spock and locating his shuttle planetside, Spock assaulting and nerve pinching another member of Starfleet, medical. Man, doctors can't catch a break in this series, can they? This nerve pinch takes place after the opening shot of Spock in the cell. We can see the scrawls on the floor already, indicating his obsession with this. And I'd like to note that the transport Georgiou turns up in is one with the Starfleet medical logo on it, so perhaps what brought her to Discovery is the fact that Spock has already, prior to this season beginning, escaped psychiatric care, or evaluation, and taken matters into his own hands, as he often actually kinda does, thinking about it. He already overthrew Kirk in TOS to save Pike's life as well, so he's done this before. Or will do it again later on. The point is, I'm trying to say he has a history of doing things his own way when he feels the need for it, which he clearly does, as the previous trailers have already established that previous members of the crew have already encountered the Red Angel, seemingly in their own time, in their own stories. We also get a scene of Tilly being enveloped in this black goo, which is what I presume this blob monster was made from. So, theory 2, this is all connected to that green spore that fell on Tilly last season, as in the trailers we see Stamets extract something from her, this little glob here, and then immediately contain it within the spore drive isolation cell. This leads on to my big bad of the season theory, which I'll get onto at the end after I've done analysing this trailer. So we get some shots of Pike along with some dialogue, and I like that he's actually being the sort of more reassuring captain, even though he's actually the outsider to the crew. It seems he is going sort of the extra length to ingratiate himself with the crew, even going so far as to change into their uniform out of the, I think they called it the diplomatic version of the Starfleet uniform. Georgiou wrecking stuff on what I presume is Kronos or a Klingon world, and it's nice to see that they've got this little Terran technology style auto turret thing that perhaps she's even helped develop. I can imagine that too, Section 31 being like, so you have any neat little devices over there that we could use? To save the Federation, of course. We have Discovery. I think it's bringing something into its hangar from here, judging from the position of, well, I'm going to assume, tractor beams. There's also this blue glowing rock in front of one of the cells of Discovery in this shot. I'm going to speculate that it's a similar or the same substance that is extracted from Tilly. Whatever this stuff is, I think this is malevolent, because I'm pretty certain it's what turns into this blob monster that we also see in the trailer. Then there's a pretty cool scene that I'm hyped about, which is the Discovery seeming to appear amid a spore forest. Now, it looks like it's coming through a cavern ceiling or something. So, another theory. What is this? 4, 3? I don't know, whatever. New theory. Interphasic space. So I did a video on interphasic space a while ago where I explained what the concept is in the Star Trek universe, and it's basically when you start shifting yourself out of reality but not quite into another dimension, you start losing cohesion and you can start passing through things. The Federation have actually done experiments with interphasic cloaks before. Basically, it's a cloak that renders you both intangible and invisible to perception. And the Romulans were also messing around with this, and the Voth actually use interphasic cloaks all the time on a personal level. And like I say, the Federation will be playing with it again in TNG. So I think that might be what we're seeing here, is Stamets coming up with this crazy idea to utilise the spore drive, but not in its actual interstellar travel function, because I think that's been banned by the Federation for now, but as a sort of interphasic, bringing them out of alignment with reality, allowing them to pass through this particularly dense asteroid field. And I think this is probably the crazy plan that Pike alludes to in the trailer as well. So I'm betting it now. This is Stamets trying to find applications for his research outside of the genetic manipulation fueled spore drive jump tech that's now illegal. And unsurprisingly, Burnham and Georgiou end up in a fight. There's explosions going on. There's a scene where Spock and Burnham's shuttle gets shot down. Looks like by Discovery as well. Not sure how that factors in yet. Then we get the scenes of the spore being extracted from Tilly, or what I'm presuming is the spore. Some nice, bright, happier shots of Discovery where it's not all dark and gloomy. And even Spock cracks a smile. And I think they're having a little jibe at the audience here. Well, not so much a jibe, more like making fun, because Pike asks him, "Is that a smile I see on your face?" And he's like, "Yes, it is." And then Pike's like, "Welcome to Discovery." You can almost hear them add the tagline, "Welcome to Discovery, where we do things differently here." Now, they have said that they're doing all sorts of things to address the continuity of their series to make it fit in, but if they're going so far as to address why Spock smiles in this episode of The Cage, that'd be fun. If they can justify it, I'm okay with it. I mean, Spock could also be crazy. He's in a psych ward for a reason at the start of this. Overall, good trailer. I am appreciating the lighter approach to things, yet it's still dramatic. You can have a drama-filled show without making it dark and gloomy. It's like in season 1 of Discovery, they watched Into the Pale Moonlight, one of the highest rated DS9 episodes, and thought that's what makes good Trek, missing the fact that what made that episode so good was the fact that we were seeing Sisko in a light where we don't normally see him. And if you make an entire show in that sort of dark, grim, results at any costs kind of dark Starfleet. Anywho, I'm going into a complete tangent here. My point is, dark Trek works when you've got the light Trek there to balance it off of, and Discovery Season 1 was very much lacking in that, and I hope to see that remedied in Season 2, which this trailer is hinting at for me and suggesting. So, good. Plus, it looks to have created a mystery that I very much want answers to. So with all that said and done, that's the analysis over, and I guess drop out now if you don't want to know my theory or want to avoid any sort of spoilery kind of discussions. Here's the out. Still there? Okay, so I think this green little spore is symptomatic of some sort of damage to the mycelial network, a sort of erosion or a cancer-like entity that manifests in our realm as this organic globulous mass of ew. This is the threat to all life that the Red Angels are alluding to, as it seems to consume everything it encounters. This is what we see attempting to consume Tilly before Stamets removes it, but it somehow breaks out of containment, and that's the tendril-like monster we see rampaging around what I'm going to presume is Discovery. Its arrival into this dimension is preceded by the red bursts, and the Angel. Is the Angel a harbinger of this force, or just trying to help? Dunno, and that's where the have faith element of this show fits in. So what's more, I think that this creeping cancer to the network that resides beyond the normal realm is actually being created by the use of the Spore network, like introducing contaminants to this natural creation that was never meant to be exposed to our dimension as it resides in interphasic space. This would then provide a compelling reason to dispose of Spore Drive technology altogether, as it leads to this damaging effect, explaining why it's never utilised again outside of Star Trek Discovery, fulfilling the promise that, don't worry, Discovery will fit into continuity. Perhaps I'm just so hung up on these theories because it would justify earlier theory videos and lore videos I've made that didn't seem to pay off in Discovery Season 1. But now I've got to watch the show because I have to know if I'm right. What do you think? What did I miss? Especially if there's something in one of the short treks that would add light to what's going on here. But you can also check out my video I did on interphasic space. I'll link it in the description below and as a little thumbnail around if you feel like giving CBS some money, because apparently they own that video as well according to copyright. Anywho, I hope you enjoyed my breakdown of the trailer. Sorry it's a bit long-winded, as I say I didn't script this, and if you've got your own opinions, please share them below. Thanks for watching. I've been Rick, this is Certifiably Ingame, and until next time, see you later. Goodbye.